The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hello, welcome to All About Kids, a program focusing on the interests of children and young people and some of the issues affecting them. Our guest today, Cody, President of Junior Achievement of the Upper Midwest, and Junior Achievement's Urban Outreach Manager, Peter Knight, will be talking about the 75 years that Junior Achievement has worked to bring volunteers from the corporate community together with students to help students learn more about becoming productive members in an economic society. We'll begin the program with a short videotape giving some of the history of Junior Achievement.
The end of the First World War marked the beginning of drastic changes in America. All across the country, farmers were leaving the fields for brighter prospects in the nation's booming cities. The opportunities were many, but the skills of these new city dwellers were few. As a result, many of the newcomers found their fortunes hardly improved with their new surroundings. This ultimately took its toll in the forms of growing unemployment and poverty. Horace Moses, president of the Strathmore Paper Company, saw this dilemma. He, along with Massachusetts Senator Murray Crane and American Telephone and Telegraph President Theodore Vail, set out to do something about it. In 1919, they founded the Boys and Girls Bureau Committee in Springfield, Massachusetts. The goal of the program was to teach teenagers skills that would help them in the workplace. The after-school program gave students a chance to run their own companies. Under the guidance of a volunteer business consultant, students sold stock, produced and sold products, and returned dividends to shareholders. By the end of its first year, the program had a new name, Junior Achievement. The program experienced strong acceptance by the business community in its first 20 years. Companies like Colgate-Palmolive Peet, International Business Machines, and Armco Steel jumped aboard the Junior Achievement bandwagon. Soon, Junior Achievement was moving out of the northeastern United States and into America's heartland. Programs were established in Chicago and Milwaukee. By 1941, the decision was made to undertake a national expansion in earnest.
This is Bing Crosby saying, please observe Junior Achievement Week in your hometown. Folks, we have 20 million teenagers in this country who must understand the workings of our system of private enterprise if our nation is to continue to prosper. Support your business, civic, and educational leaders who are making this program possible. Let's make Junior Achievement a major achievement for the youth of America.
Initially, the expansion was slow. World War II helped keep student growth down, but by the early 1950s, Junior Achievement was undergoing stellar growth.
Hi, kids. Hi. Ned, I'd like to have you meet Jimmy Hawkins, member of the Junior Achievement.
I know Jim. I own stock in his company.
You know, Jim, a lot of friends of mine at school belong to Junior Achievement companies.
Say, that's great. Actually, there's more than 58,000 young men and women all over the country that are active in JA. And they manufacture products like this pants hanger.
The 1950s also marked Junior Achievement's entry into the international marketplace with the establishment of operations in Canada in 1955. By 1960, Junior Achievement was reaching 68,000 students a year. That figure would more than double to 155,000 by 1970.
Hey, hey, what do you say? This was made in the USA. What do you say in the USA? Make it with Junior Achievement.
The 70s marked a turning point for Junior Achievement. In 1974, the organization developed an in-school program for middle school. This program focused less on entrepreneurship and more on personal economics. Even though this new program still depended on volunteer business consultants, it was a far cry from the nighttime high school program the organization had run for over 50 years. But this change in focus proved to be inspired. The middle school program was extremely successful. By 1978, Junior Achievement had developed an in-school program for 5th grade and subsequently launched an in-school program for high school in the early 1980s. By 1988, Junior Achievement was reaching over 1 million students a year. In the late 80s, growing international competition and shrinking education budgets brought the quality of America's workforce to the forefront of national debate. Many employees entering the job market lack the decision-making skills needed by most businesses. Early intervention became a key issue. In 1990, Junior Achievement addressed this issue by launching a complete elementary school program. Designed to show kindergarten through 6th grade students the value of an education, the program became fully implemented in the fall of 1993. Today, Junior Achievement serves over 1.5 million students in the United States. Internationally, the organization reaches another 500,000 students in over 70 countries. And Junior Achievement keeps on growing. 75 years may seem like a long time, but for Junior Achievement, it's just the beginning.
Ron and Peter, it's a pleasure to have you here today on All About Kids. Congratulations, 75 years of Junior Achievement, and obviously from the video we've just seen, your organization has really adapted to the changing needs of a different society. Give us some more background, please.
Well, Junior Achievement is very sensitive to the needs of the community and the marketplace, if you will, and has been able to change over the years to meet the concerns of business and the education community, our two principal constituents. And so that while Junior Achievement years ago, as the film pointed out, helped young people understand business by involving them in a hands-on experience, promoting entrepreneurship and so forth, the focus recently has addressed two major concerns, both with the business community and the education community, and that is the school dropout issue and work readiness issues. In fact, Junior Achievement's purpose now, simply stated, has become to inspire and educate young people to value free enterprise, our economic system, to understand business and economics, and to be workforce ready, or at least understand the importance of becoming workforce ready. So, as I say, the transition from a program that helped young people with a hands-on experience in business and entrepreneurship to one now that addresses some more current issues of considerable concern.
Well, as a librarian, I'm certainly interested in all kinds of literacy issues, and I had not really thought about the term you used earlier, economic literacy, and that's certainly something that's very, very important for young people today. And it seems to me that Junior Achievement was far ahead of its time, because now we're hearing much more about the involvement of business in schools, with the situation in late 1993 of the Minneapolis school system hiring a very different kind of superintendent.
That's right.
Interesting.
So it's, yes, it certainly is. Yeah. Peter, you're the urban outreach coordinator, and how does your role fit in with the overall organizational goals?
Well, 5 years ago, Junior Achievement decided that they would like to be more focused on the city. Our traditional image was a suburban program. And so with the help of our board, we created an urban outreach department that would focus on city schools. We find out that a significant number of the classrooms carry a high percentage of students of color. And so the mandate that was given to the department was find volunteers of color, professional business people who would be willing to go into the classroom and be role models for these students. And so we have done that quite well. And so our focus is to work with the kids in the city, work with the teachers, provide them with resources to the business community, tapping into the the workforce of color that surrounds the city and getting them in the classroom.
Well, that must be an exciting sort of thing for children to talk about work and business and a variety of professions probably that a lot of kids wouldn't have thought about.
Definitely. A lot of surprises. We find the kids, eyes open wide when they see a chemist come in, and they didn't. Oh, you're a chemist, and you're of Latino descent, or you're an engineer, or or you run your own business. It's inspiring for them, and our focus is careers, having them look at different options. We hope that young women will see female engineers or executives coming into their classroom. In fact, we have an ambassador, a person who was a U.S. ambassador, who is actually going into an elementary school, and so she will bring her experience with her. So.
It's fantastic because I think often children look at actors or sports figures as their role models, and they don't think of people in their communities who are doing very exciting things as being something you want to be when you grow up. Right. You've got some very interesting looking materials that you're using in the classroom.
Yes.
Could you demonstrate or talk about these?
All right.
Now, when you develop these, do you work with teachers or do you work with the business community too?
Ron,
well, the idea is to bring about that partnership, Gretchen, between the business community and the education community, and thereby build bridges, if you will, from the classroom to the workplace. And so Junior Achievement is one of the only curriculum-based economic education programs that involves a mentorship aspect. In other words, the really important aspect, in addition to these fine materials of Junior Achievement, is the volunteer. And the volunteer, a trained, qualified volunteer in the classroom on a weekly basis, in other words, a sustained contact with the students, is really Junior Achievement's strength. That's what makes these program materials come alive. But the materials themselves are very exciting too.
Yes.
Peter, maybe you can show us some of these. Yeah.
Very much so, and there a lot of research goes into developing these materials. Our national headquarters does all the packaging for us, the research. There's a lot of survey done with teachers, and what you will find is that our programs will fit into the curriculum of a school, social studies, or in the elementary school program, which this kit represents. This is our second grade kit. It talks about the community, about government. It talks about different careers, and so it fits right into whatever it is that they teach. The teachers will do in the second grade, whatever theme they would expose the students to. So we're very proud of our materials, and the bonus is that they're free of cost to the teachers, which is, I think, a great advantage.
Well, you brought a short video that shows children working with a volunteer using this kit in the classroom.
Yes.
Let's take a look at the children using this material.
Wonderful.
So here we are in a second grade classroom, and the young man who's handing out the sheets is a volunteer from the
Correct.
business community.
Yes. I think this illustrates what is really new and different in JA, the fact that we have an elementary school program that involves grades K through 6 and is sequential in nature, and it follows the social studies themes. Kindergarten is self, first grade is family, second grade is community, and so forth. Very hands-on, experiential, action-oriented, and so forth.
Well, I'm looking at the sheet of stickers that the children are using, and I'm fascinated because we have a picture of Paula's plumbing truck, and there is Jamal's moving, Garza Community Bank. So the stickers are multicultural in their focus, and they show women as business owners, all a variety of there's even some Spanish here.
That's right. Policewoman talks about the government, and we can then branch off into explaining what taxes are and things like that. Yeah.
A second grade is not too young to start learning about that.
And they know. Yeah.
Again, the early intervention is important, Gretchen, in that studies prove that youngsters who are at risk of dropping out of school have been identified by the 2nd and 3rd grade. And we have growing numbers of students who are, in fact, at risk. And the dropout rate in the nation and locally is increasing. The Minnesota Department of Education tells us that close to 1 of every 5 students entering 9th grade this year will drop out of school. And that presents a toll not only on that individual, that young person, but on society, who will have to help these young people along if they are not employable. And in many cases, what is missing is getting information to that young person early so that they make the connection between the classroom and the workplace. We're really being unfair to young people if we don't help them understand how our system works and what's at stake for them. So that's what Junior Achievement is attempting to do with these materials that you're looking at and the volunteers. About 1,200 volunteers currently in over 210 classrooms in the metro area.
It's amazing. Now, how do parents know if their children are getting these materials in school? Kids don't always communicate real well at home.
We encourage parents to ask their young people if they are involved in a Junior Achievement program because it supplements existing curriculum in most cases, except at the senior high level. Students are not always fully aware that they're involved in a JA program. But I think if, in many cases, they bring materials home, and I think if parents engage their children in conversations about what's going on in school, they will learn that they probably have been involved in a JA program at some point.
And I think by asking the teacher, because usually it's a teacher's decision as to whether or not a JA program will be in their class.
And the materials are provided at no cost to the teacher or the school, which certainly is a consideration.
Which leads into where our funding comes from, I think.
Yes, Junior Achievement is sponsored or funded solely by the business community. And most of our volunteers that put in a lot of hours in the classroom have come from the business community. However, now we're really reaching out to a very broad spectrum of volunteers, in that we're looking for parents who want to have a role in the education of their young people. And they can fit very well into the elementary school program as a volunteer. We're looking at retirees, college students, and so forth. Junior Achievement is in the unique position of having many more orders, if you will, than we can fill.
Yeah.
The interest is very high in the schools, and nothing can happen until a volunteer signs on. And we involve that volunteer in training so that we try to make them feel very comfortable before they go in the classroom. It can be a very intimidating prospect.
Appearing before 32nd graders, indeed.
Exactly. And so we try to make the volunteer feel very comfortable. They're trained in the use of the materials. They know what to expect when they go into the school. We help them understand what the activities are and what the attitude of the students at whatever grade level they're working at will be, and so forth.
What's the time commitment for a volunteer in terms of the training, in addition to the weekly visit?
Peter, why don't you cover that?
We, at the elementary level, we require a 2-hour training for the volunteer, and it's anywhere between 35 and 40 minutes for one class period each week for 4 weeks. Actually 5 weeks for the elementary school program.
So you're not signing your life away.
No,
you're
you're
making
not.
a reasonable
No,
commitment with the
relatively
beginning and
short
an end.
commitment.
Yes, and in the middle school, we go a little longer. There's a program that we call the Economics of Staying in School, which is targeted to 7th grade, and that's a 45-minute period each week for 6 weeks with a 2-hour training also. And then we also target the 8th and 9th grade with Project Business, which runs for 9 weeks. And we go for a 3-hour training, and it's one class period each week for 9 weeks. And then our final program, which is the high school program, is Applied Economics, and we ask the volunteer to training for an entire day, actually, because the materials there are a little higher level. We bring in computer simulations, that kind of thing, and they start up a company. So we do get in depth in the high school level. the volunteers asked to go into the classroom for 13 weeks at the minimum, one class period each week with that all-day training. So
well, the corporate community in Minnesota is pretty good about encouraging employees to get involved in volunteer projects. Do you have some people who actually are able to take work time for something like this?
Well, all of these programs happen in the daytime, Gretchen. They're all in the classrooms so that volunteers all leave their workplace during the day, and business is very supportive. I must be very complimentary of the Twin Cities business community, and in fact statewide. Junior Achievement covers the entire state of Minnesota, and in fact is nationwide, but our particular office works with Minnesota, North Dakota, and 3 counties in Wisconsin. And as I say, now we're drawing volunteers from beyond business.
Well, I think it ties in with everything that we're hearing about for our children's future. It has to be partnership, the community, parents, schools, libraries, social service agencies, everybody working together in this redesign of the educational system.
Well, I think we would not be fair to mention that we are also now reaching out to the federal, state, and local government because definitely government plays an important part in the economy, whether by their decisions to spend or not to spend. And so we have been reaching out. The federal government has been quite willing to provide volunteers, and we have been approaching Hennepin County and the city of Minneapolis.
Bureaucrats going into schools, and teaching children how to...
definitely, because there are careers in those fields, and careers that are important, and that add quite a bit of value to the community. So
a librarian could become involved in junior achievement and go in.
I thought we had signed up.
Well, we'll certainly put the phone number to call for any viewers who are out there interested in participating in the program as a volunteer.
We, as I mentioned earlier, we have about 1,500 volunteers. They, this year, we estimate will be involved about 13,000 hours in the classroom, and if you multiply that out by the number of contact hours that they'll have with students, assuming there's 25 to 30 students in a classroom, it amounts to about 318,000 hours being donated by individuals, time that they're spending with students in the classroom.
That is amazing. Now, do you find that the volunteers come away from this experience with a totally new attitude toward what's going on in the school? Probably, I would expect more positive, because when I see what's going on in the schools, I don't get that sense of despair that we often
Well,
get
I think they're very appreciative to the value of teachers, and they say, well, boy, these teachers are underpaid, because they realize that to handle 25 to 30 students each day is very important, and these kids are our future. So they come away with a very good impression of the task and the job that teachers have to do on a daily basis. Definitely. I think if Ron would agree that...
I think one of the exciting benefits is the dialogue and the communication that takes place between the volunteer, most often from business, and the teacher, and they get to understand one another's point of view, the issues they're dealing with, why they think the way they do, and so forth. There's a real important exchange, and teachers and volunteers alike have acknowledged that that's been one of the most exciting parts of the whole experience, getting to know one another and understanding the issues that each person is dealing with. The student, of course, is the real beneficiary from the effort, but it's a benefit that we don't talk about very often.
Well, if I could compliment what you just said, Ron, is that, traditionally educators have, well, I shouldn't say they have been anti-business, but they have focused more on education for pure education, educational reasons, and getting a job then would fit naturally into that. What we're finding that is happening is that gulf between, or that gap between business and education has been closed, and I think that's the job that Junior Achievement has been doing so successfully over these years, is that we're the largest partner between business and education, and Ron mentioned it very well, is that we're getting people to talk. Business people are now saying to the teachers, this is what we expect of students when they get into the workforce. How can you help us so that we don't have to spend billions of dollars each year bringing them up to snuff, to get them work ready?
And the early intervention, too, is such a strong point.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, teachers tell us often that a volunteer brings a credibility into the classroom where on this subject often the teacher may not have and even the parents may not have. But that volunteer is a role model, talking about their life and their experiences. And the students get real basic in terms of what they want to know about the volunteer. And because
how much money do you make?
Well, absolutely.
Which is
they want to size them up
sure.
as an individual and test their credibility.
Very good. Well, we've just got a couple of minutes left, but in 75 years you must have had a lot of junior achievement graduates who are now probably volunteering themselves or very active in the community and can attribute some of their success today to their involvement.
Absolutely. In fact, I meet people daily who will attribute some of their success to junior achievement. It makes us feel very good, and it's very motivating. About 60% of our volunteers return each year also, which says something, I think, for the experience. They find it very exhilarating and rewarding. So it's both the students that have been in JA and the volunteers that are helping us that seem to attribute some of their personal satisfaction and success to JA. We're proud to say that.
And you continue to get young professionals, young business people who are going back in willing to give their time.
Absolutely. As I said, the volunteer is the most important aspect of the program. We can't respond to a teacher's request that junior achievement come into the classroom until we find a volunteer who is willing to make that commitment. And I will tell you, if there are any volunteers, prospective volunteers watching us, I want to encourage them to look into the experience because they will find it very rewarding and very self-satisfying.
Well, that's a wonderful note to end this program on, and we will give that volunteer number to call during our credits. Ron, Cody, and Peter Knight, thank you very, very much for explaining more about
Gretchen.
junior achievement.
We've enjoyed this. Thanks.
And continue to celebrate your 75th anniversary year in 1994.
Great. Thank you.
Junior Achievement is a program that makes a difference. Thank you, Ron, Cody, and Peter Knight. And thanks to all of you for joining us on All About Kids. Please tune in again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency. We thank you for watching, and we hope you visit your public library often.